Most of the people that you will be reaching with your documentary will be familiar with a term called Sankofa, an African word that means to go back to come forward or to look back to come forward, checking where we've been to get a better sense of where we are and a clearer vision of where we need to go. Our people currently, black people in America, are suffering a tremendous loss of racial self-esteem. And of course, you cannot lose racial self-esteem without that having a deleterious effect upon your personal self-esteem and your esteem for everybody like you, including your own family and loved ones. So we are in an extremely negative self-concept at this stage in history. And the question that faces all of us who care about that dilemma is, how do we best get ourselves out of that? One of the things that Jim Klingman and I had discussed is that we need to look back over the, shall we say, contemporary history of our people. We all talk about going way back in history, but we need to look back within reach of people who are alive today, because that has more relevance for people. If they can touch it, feel it, see it, sense it, et cetera, experience it, know somebody who actually went through some of the things that we're alluding to, and find a locus point that we can start from to bring our people forward. So we have focused in on the 1960s as that period, because the 1960s was a period when black was beautiful. No black person in America was ashamed of being black during the 1960s. They might not all have reached the status of being proud of being black, but they sure were relieved that they didn't have to be ashamed. And that was a beautiful era for those of us for whom blackness means something. So it was a beautiful period. Black was beautiful. We weren't afraid to put the word black in front of other words or phrases that meant something to us, such as black power. Put black in front of power. Most of us had never conceptualized the word power as having a relationship to black people, or black people as having a relationship to power, except to being subordinated to someone else who had power to impose their will on us. So the fact of putting black in front of power resonated with black folks. It touched something deep in the fiber of our being that just brought it surging to the surface. For some of us, just maybe embering up from the surface for others. But it was a beautiful period in time to be black. And I'm loving the fact that I was alive and well and grown during that period of time, to have experienced that. And that has stayed with me and sustained me since that period of time. What we're seeking to do is to bring back the positive focus on blackness and the positive effects of how people felt about being black that permeated black people and black communities during the 1960s, and bring it into the present and apply it to the present day situation. So we want black people to again recognize and embrace the concept of black as being beautiful, the beautifulness of blackness. We want our children to again begin to sing how wonderful it is to be young, gifted, and black. We want our young men in particular to understand and appreciate that blackness and power and blackness can and should go together, not in a sense of being threatening to anybody else, but being reassuring to ourselves. It is humanly disabling to feel that what you are as a human being is powerless in a world that you know emanates with power. So you are the opposite of what the world respects and admires. So we have to restore into our people these positive senses about themselves as a people of African descent. One of the things that we had to do at my school, which is an African-centered school, is to disinvest young black children from the negative feelings that they had every time they looked in a mirror. They hated what they saw because they knew nothing about an image of blackness that was positive, constructive, productive, or respect worthy. They had been put down to such an extent because of their blackness that they hated and would tell you that being black, and felt that whoever or whatever was responsible for them having made them black was a bad, evil force, and that they should hate it. They couldn't hate this thing called God because they didn't know anything about that and wouldn't believe in it if someone tried to get them to believe in it. But what they could identify with having been responsible for making them black is their own mama and whoever that guy was that impregnated their mother and caused them to come into this world in this ugly black skin as they perceived it.